This is Scene and Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Paul. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How are you doing this evening? Looking forward to talking some Paradise penultimate episode with you. And
All right. Well, that brings us to Paradise Season 2, Episode 7, the final countdown. And I am going to curse this episode because that freaking song, as soon as I read the title, it started playing. And then they talked about it. And I was like, no, stop it. Luckily, it doesn't stick, but man, as soon as you hear those words, like One Track Mind, it just turns on like a radio. This IMDb summary is Xavier has unfinished business. Meanwhile, Sinatra meets with Link as Paradise prepares for a potential threat. Will, where do you want to start with this episode?
Let's just start with the flashback, because I have to say, for me, I've missed James Marsden.
Thank you. That was like my highlight of this episode. Was like, we really need to step up the Cal flashbacks, because he is just brilliant in an absence I have missed.
Yes. I mean, he's like the low key, not even low key. He's like the MVP. I mean, whenever episode 7, I think. And Fogelman don't let me down in season 3, but we're going to have a speech by Cal that just sets the tone for everything. And I really, to that point about the flashback, I really liked how the episode started. And for folks who if you listen to the Paradise Radio on Hulu, it's a website that they've set up as a companion piece for the show, and you can like tune in to various frequencies, and they'll give like either a snippet of a speech or a scene or whatever. And one of the things that they had on this week was Kyle talking about the pajamas that he bought.
Yeah.
And so whenever this episode aired and they were walking in the bowels of the bunker, and going, and he was having the conversation about the expensive indulgence and all that. And then when you have the moment there in the episode with Kyle talking to Sinatra about how empires don't fail on lack of
that happens at the end. Yep.
Yeah. That I was just like, I love the symmetry and the bookends of that. And for me, as someone who does continuity planning and that kind of stuff it's one of the things that I deal with in my day job. I just really that whole thing really resonated with me, as far as just like everything that has achieved greatness has one common thing. They thing in common. They end. And just I think the hubris of the folks who built this bunker and didn't like come up with, did not in all the scenarios, all the smart people in the room, all these brilliant folks, it was this Cal and his common sense that really just like, really pointed out the faulty, the design defect in this bunker. And that's the thing I like about Cal is, he just seems like this rube who just that people just underestimate, especially because he's a pretty boy, but he's, he has that innate street smarts, I guess. And I just really like that scene.
Well, Marsden, just in general, and a lot of the characters he plays, but especially this one, manages to walk that line of, at the beginning of the episode while they're doing the tour, there's that moment where it's like, okay, dumb it down. Mm-hmm. Dumb it down again. Dumb it down. Take it back. Take it back. So he knows his limits. He's like, I don't understand that. Mm-hmm. I understand this. So it's this line of, I hear what you're saying and what you've done, but I don't understand it. So you need to talk as if you're talking to a third grader.
Yeah.
And then the between the pajamas and then Helm's Deep reenactment, which was great.
Yep.
He starts to use things that are relevant to him and that he understands to kind of express, okay, so what if this happens?
Yep.
What if the orgs invade?
Yep.
Like he's able to then also in return say, okay, but what if worst case scenario?
Yeah.
And it allows then to be caught off guard when he has that final speech with about the falling of empires and everything. And I thought Samantha was interesting during that with some of the looks. But it makes sense. It makes sense that the hubris, as you put it, got in the way of not only Samantha, but even the designer who we now meet in present day, who inadvertently was contributing as an org into the downfall of this creation. It's the you want to create something, and so you get distracted so much by that final product and actually achieving it that you don't see the flaws. But then again, very simply at the beginning, Cal says he does not want the bunker to be he wants the bunker to become the pajamas.
Yeah.
Samantha has never not wanted the bunker to not only be built and work efficiently, but to be used. And that motivation and objective allows them to have a different perspective during this whole review of what's been set up and how it will work.
Yeah.
So that objectivity is granted to Cal and not to Samantha. And she doesn't want to see it. She does not want to see it. She doesn't want to hear it because she is so close to what she wants. Yeah. And she also strongly believes like the end of the world will happen and there's nothing we can do about it. And so I'm doing this.
Yeah. I mean, she, not only the volcano, but also, go back to think of Dr. Luge, talking about the warming. Part two. Yeah.
Which we haven't seen yet. We're not. Right. So that's still something out there where at the beginning of the season, they brought up Act 2 very purposely. And I think now looking back at it, it's kind of a red herring for Alex.
Yeah.
When Act 2 is something else altogether, which we'll probably see, and they'll deal more with in season 3, I would imagine, because I don't suspect they brought it up for it to just be a throwaway thing.
No. Everything in this show, as we've seen so far in these 2 seasons, everything has a purpose.
Whether you like it or don't.
Exactly.
Whether it's annoying or not.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we started there. Before we get more into present day bunker shenanigans, let's talk about Xavier and Teri.
Yeah.
Xavier and Teri and Bean. Yep. And I have one note I really want to talk about in terms of the Xavier Teri reunion is the redundant line of we got a lot to catch up on, and I wrote in parentheses, like your white adopted children.
Yeah, the inverse, this is us.
It's never not going to be funny to me.
I thought of when I saw whenever she delivered that line, and when they were talking about
Like you gotta understand.
I heard your voice in my head as I literally laughed out loud whenever they said that, and then also as they were walking together, and they're talking about the dating pool and stuff, and and she was like, "Oh, he's white." Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The dating pool line, classic.
Yeah.
Classic Fogelman from This Is Us as well. I was so that. But what are some of your thoughts about Teri, Xavier, Gary, and Bean?
Yeah, so I guess what Teri and Xavier, just starting with them first, and also just the other thing as far as catching up, I have a better appreciation now of episode 2 and the flashback of them meeting, because I think it definitely helps to. To me, it just sort of helped flesh out their relationship before, and I touched on that some whenever we talked about it in the review we did of that episode, but also the line as far as people, both of them, constantly saying, I have to change, I got to keep catch up on things, and we see we see the 3 years of Xavier wherever he. He's had to do things outside the bunker to survive, because he had the protection, he's always been that protective bubble of, being the protective as a Secret Service agent for the president. And we see that now where he's doing that with Teri there after they get reunited. The other thing too, I just have just as an aside, I wonder if they're going to get into the whole Xavier and Tharabi thing from season 1, but it's just, but as far as explaining things, but that being said, the other thing with Bean, we see how, to your point about, adopting the white kids, Teri has, she sees that as her family, and it was a part of her motivations to to help ground her in this post-apocalyptic world, and gave her, I guess some meaning, and is trying to make sure that that the kid is going to be okay. And then of course, we see the delivery of the note, and then of course that goes to Gary, and I really, I think, I was really wondering. I didn't think it. Even though they kept teasing the moment of that Xavier was going to have to take him out, I never thought that was going to be the case. I really thought that Teri would get through to him, but whenever, when Gary basically tells Teri to, just that tell him about, when Gary tells him, she says she'll tell him about the man who saved us. Whenever they walked out of the mail office, I half expected to hear a gunshot, because I really thought Gary was his world ended at that point. But I think it's implied, and I appreciate that they didn't just do that. But I don't know if that was your take on with Gary.
What he committed implied that he committed suicide?
I thought I half expected hearing him take his own life after she left the post office. But
no, I understand that. But you said then you said it's implied.
Yeah, I just maybe. Well, I mean, maybe that's what we're supposed to take away as viewers, instead of putting it on the nose of us actually hearing him do it.
No, that doesn't seem like this show. With all the telegraphing that happened in this episode, I doubt that. I don't think that there would be that line, yes, I will tell him about the man who saved us. And then it's implied that Gary took his own life.
Okay.
That doesn't add up to me, and I don't find that as an implication, but everyone's entitled to their own interpretation of how that scene plays out. But yeah.
Or maybe Gary just, he just figures out a way to pull himself together and, have to live with the consequences of killing his best friend,
Well, she tells him, you have an opportunity to start over again. Like, what he's done over the last 3 years won't define him if he doesn't let it. And you can't unchange something like that. So theoretically.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We might even see Gary again for all I know.
Yeah,
so
that's very possible. Yeah.
That's always a possibility. But the thing is that he doesn't take his life at the end of the day. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
this whole storyline kind of it was fine. It was necessary. I understand Xavier's the lead of our show. However, there's so much other stuff going on that it kind of drug this down a bit. But all right, so that brings us to present day in the bunker. You've already brought her up, so we will talk about Therabi's increased paranoia, because I called it last week of how stupid she was to confront Jane. Mm-hmm. Only then now for her to immediately show, like, she realizes how stupid she was, and then she ups the ante and ups the ante again. Mm-hmm. And then, to go back to Teri told Xavier, what, we murdering people now? Well, his mistresses.
Yeah, she's gonna. She is, and she's gonna have to definitely,
And what is with this character? What is with this character and the shower? Okay, because we all know what happened in season 1 in the shower. And now this. Mm-hmm. This is my villain of the show. No.
I was wondering if Therabi was going to get a redemption arc for you there, but I guess not.
It's hard. If people have been with us long enough, if you've heard me about various clubs, it's very hard to get redemption. You might earn redemption with general public, but with me, it's like pulling teeth. It takes a lot. What other shenanigans? Hadley and Presley. Yeah. Continuing to see them. Hadley is very interesting. I'm like, when are we gonna get a flashback with her and going down? Mm-hmm. And it's like she's Bubble Girl. You get this feeling as though Samantha and her dad inadvertently did put her in a bubble, and she has been locked in there a lot longer than they've all been in the bunker. Yeah. Which is very opposite of Presley, who has had to step up in this absence of her mother and been more of a caretaker role. So I like the pairing, and I mean, we're going to get more because now they're stuck in an elevator.
Yeah. Got to figure out how to get out.
Yeah, which is not good, because simultaneously, while they are going down to, I don't know, it's just this funny idea. Okay, so we know Jeremy's down there, and other people potentially too. So we're just going to use the elevator, even though there's probably going to be armed guards. We think there's a prison down there, but we're just going to go down and use the elevator, and just walk out and everything will be fine. Totally allowed to be down there. The bracelet says so.
Yeah, exactly. The bracelet says so. Yeah. Well, Well, we are, to Robson's point, we're dealing with young kids here, so they haven't thought A to B to C. So,
well, They may not have thought about A to Z, but Jeremy has definitely thought about his feelings towards Robinson and the fact that he was sleeping with his father. Yeah. And I, for a moment there, he was in the lead, and then she did a right hook. And so now I'm like, okay, we're tied. We're even with the verbal sparring that occurred between these two characters this episode.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. But Robinson, I don't think has been utilized to the full potential this season, to the point where I forgot she had an affair with Cal.
Yeah.
Until way later this season. And now that we're getting that, it's very interesting. And then in the back of my mind, these conversations also just remind me, so where's Jeremy's mom? We've saw her in the first season. Have never seen her since.
Never seen her since. No. We really, I mean, that's the thing. The bunker really has like only focused on the key core characters this season because
there's so much going on. I feel like the bunker, there's a lot of momentum, especially within these last 2 to 3 episodes, because I mean, call the episode what it is, the final countdown. And so you suddenly have all of these, for lack of a better word, plot devices happening. So you can't really delve deep into the characters that are in the bunker, which honestly, at the same time, we were in the bunker the whole first season.
It's by design, clearly.
Yeah. What anything else you want to add in about Jeremy and Robinson's play to release the gates?
No, I think we touched on it from the failsafe earlier, and we can definitely move on to the Alex and Sinatra and Link. All
right, what you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, of course, Sinatra is back in charge, and to your point, since we were talking about the fail safe and the protocol, because now, of course, they were, the billionaires all were considering, going into lockdown protocol because of the concerns of the group outside the bunker, but no, I mean, but Sinatra was,
So we had the negotiations in this episode. What did you think about the conversation that occurred between Sam and Link in this episode?
I really enjoyed that, even though it was very revealing. I liked the sparring that was going on between the two of them, as far as just kind of filling each other out, and the whole apple pie thing. It was just Julianne Nicholson and Thomas Daughtry just really played well off each other, as far as just like these two adversaries trying to see if one of them is going to slip, and then the other person could take advantage of that.
I just was distracted I didn't realize how much they have the same eyes throughout the entire scene. So, I mean, I knew where it was headed.
Yeah, same.
So with the Dylan, and then I don't know why we felt the need to add in the line about what's your birth date. I was like, come on. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they set it up. They did set it up earlier with Hadley, so.
No, that's why I don't think it's needed. Like,
and the husband too.
So this is what I'm saying with all the telegraphing that was happening in this episode. It's like, okay, awesome. Like it was not lost on me. Okay, so we've known about the dead kid for 2 seasons, and this is the first episode in which we hear the name. and the first time we hear a birth date.
Yeah.
I wonder what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So it's not, and I also understand, or I think, I guess, that it's not technically the same kid.
Right.
It's a kid from a different parallel universe, and Alex is the bridge between the two universes.
Yeah.
Two or more. I also, hold on, I took a screenshot of this.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was funny, and I have Alex, an acronym. A is for Annie, L is for Link, E is for Elvis, their daughter, in parentheses, and X is for Xavier.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And why I screenshot that is because in this episode, while all of that was happening, especially at the end where we're seeing Xavier on the train and again get the bloody nose.
Yep.
That's my missing piece right now. And I'm not hearing anyone speculate too strongly about that, about how does he fit into this? Because he's been on the West Coast for all of this season. And I mean, other than the delivering the baby, but he and I from what I understand, the bloody nose is encountering blood that's from the parallel universe. Like that's why so the baby has Link's blood in her. So that's why, but I didn't see Teri get a bloody nose. So I also don't know. No. And I don't know why everybody around, like all of Link's men, they're not getting bloody noses all the time. So
remember, one person did get a bloody nose, that Billy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like when Billy saw him, he got a bloody nose.
Yeah.
But okay, so only select people are getting bloody noses?
Well, maybe it's because because here's the thing. So, at the time when Xavier, thinking back to episode 2, he was basically over Tenant Nash, over Memphis.
Yeah.
And Link was also there. So that could be a connection.
Well, no, Link wasn't there.
No,
Link,
he was.
Link was on the train leaving. He had already left.
No.
Annie was very pregnant by the time Xavier arrived.
Yeah.
So it took Link longer to get to Colorado than it will Xavier, which is another thing that I'm trying not to think too hard about.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I guess you could say that their paths intercepted en route, but I mean,
right. It's more to do with the baby.
Yeah.
And her blood than it is with Link being there, because Link was already well gone.
But Xavier got the nosebleed in the plane flying.
Yeah. When he crashed.
Yeah.
Like before he crashed. So he was definitely nowhere near Link at that point.
Yeah. Right. And then there is the Xavier, when he was there with Annie and again, very pregnant. When he had that vision of Link whenever he was
there's the visions, the visions that have been not answered too, and so somehow Xavier is definitely connected. He ain't no baby father, so I'm still trying to figure out how he's connected, because bloody nose aside, there's other things, but I would like to understand this selectivity that the bloody nose is happening.
Yeah, because I know Link, he did have the bloody nose outside because Geiger had to like help him with the one bloody nose. I think in episode 1 as well. So,
well, maybe. maybe at the end of the season, this season, and this is why we're getting the third season, Xavier ends up in the alternate dimension.
Yeah.
The parallel universe. Like, and there is a mix between this. Because I mean, if we're getting a third season, Xavier and Teri can't be happy for too long with their white children.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, because we definitely do know that Alex is a machine, more likely than not.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just the way, and to your point, I love how you have like basically used that as Alex as an acronym for those key people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I don't claim doing that. I am just a messenger here. Somebody else posted that and I screenshotted it because I thought it was clever. Yeah. And the Annie's baby can't be named that forever. So if we're gonna call it Elvis, let's do that. And maybe that's another reason why in next week's episode, Xavier will end up in the parallel universe because Link ends up taking Annie's baby, aka Elvis.
Yeah, because
he has an issue with that. So
and we did see in this episode too. We did see the corridor of lights. So maybe that is where Xavier is getting taken to the parallel universe by Link because Link looked back at him. So when they had that vision,
we're gonna find out answers, get some more questions probably next week.